Today's meeting of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is called to order on April 27th, 2022. Welcome, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Agendas of today's meeting are on the wall at the entrance to the chambers. Please remember to turn off your cell phones. The Municipal Code Enforcement Board consists of 7 members who are appointed by the City Council. We serve voluntarily. It is the board's intention to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Clearwater by providing this equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing certain codes within the city. The board considers new business items in 2 parts. First, the violation, and then affirmative relief. Formal rules of evidence do not apply. Each side is limited to 15 minutes. The board may grant additional time. All proceedings will be conducted in a calm, civil manner. Individuals who conduct themselves otherwise will be asked to leave. If necessary, they will be escorted from the chambers. Now I ask all who plan to speak to please rise and be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony?
I do.
Thank you.
Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of last month's meeting, which is February. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
I second.
And minutes are approved. Okay, is there anyone here to speak to items not on the agenda? Please.
All right.
Chair, I'm sorry, real quick, I'm sorry. There was a first and a second for the motion, but there was no vote.
Oh, apologies. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Minutes are approved.
Thank you.
Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carmela Carpenter. I live in the Shady Oaks Farm subdivision, and I have lived there for 39 years. My address is 3047 Oak Cove Drive, Clearwater, of course. And what I'm here for this afternoon is to thank the board very, very much for the decision that they came to in February about a property in my development at 3035 Oak Cove Drive. And I want to tell you that as much as possible has been done on that piece of property as far as the owner will allow the code enforcement to be able to go. What we were hoping for was more than just what did happen. A lot of trash that she had on the property was disposed of. But we really wanted not cut on her property, but trim on her property. Her property is so dense that you cannot even see her house. I know that Ms. Brown is our code enforcement officer, and she showed photos of the property in your February meeting. And I heard someone say, oh my goodness, if the property looks like that, what does the house look like? And I don't know, because nobody's been in her house. And I have known her for 30 plus years, and I've never been in her house. And thing of it is this: we know you have a hard job, because we have a hard job. We have a hard job with trying to get to her about doing anything about her property, because her stance is, I own the property and I will do with it what I wish. And it's very difficult to deal with somebody who isn't going to bend a little bit on what they want, what they wish. So I'm thanking the code enforcement board today, because I know that all of you are volunteer services, and we really appreciate your services as citizens of Clearwater do. And we knowing that, it really is helpful that that we do have a board that is behind us, because it is difficult for us to, as neighbors, deal with her, because she doesn't want to have anyone tell her what she needs to be doing on her property. And so I thank you very, very much, and look forward to all of you keeping us informed about it, because this is what's happening in the neighborhood. Because we didn't see the results that we wanted from the code enforcement on this property, we are now, not we, but some of the people in the neighborhood, residents, and you can't blame them because this has been going on for 20-plus years with her. And they are getting very upset, disgruntled, disillusioned, the whole 9 yards. And we want to be able to let them know that code enforcement is behind us. They are doing what they can do. It will be a continuing process, and therefore then we should not get any more aggressive than some of the people in our neighborhood have wanted. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and everybody have a very, very good day.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. And I'm sure the inspectors thank you as well. We don't often hear gratitude on this board, so thank you. Okay, anyone else here to speak on items that are not on the agenda? Okay. So next on the agenda are new business items. The first one, 4-1 is continued, 4-2 is withdrawn. Case 21-22 finds respondents Alma Sunshine Car Wash LLC at 1271 Santa Rosa Street in violation of code for fences and walls. Is there anyone here to speak on this case? No? Yes, hi.
Good afternoon, Board.
Good
Daniel
to see you again.
Yes, good to see you guys. Always good to see you. Daniel Casman, Code Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is case number 21-22 for 1271 Santa Rosa Street. There's one violation here, Code Section 3-808A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for fence maintenance, vertical position, stringers securely fastened, rotten boards, foot solidly attached to ground, fence face securely attached, and uniform fence appearance. Notice of violation was sent on January 27th of 2022 with a compliance date of February 27th, 2022, and the certified mail receipt was received on February 7th of 2022. This is 1271 Santa Rosa Street. There are plans to build an apartment complex on this vacant lot of land in the future, but it does from time to time become full of garbage, and a portion of the fence on the property is in disrepair, falling over. As you see right there, there was a lot clearing issue the same day, but they did take care of the garbage on the property. They just didn't take care of the fence. This small section of fence is being overgrown, being ripped apart, just in a state of disrepair. Went back after the compliance date on the 10th of March, and nothing had changed. Still in a state of disrepair, and of the 21st of April, it's falling over even more.
I have a silly question. Is the intent with the property to build a car wash?
No. It's going to be an apartment complex.
Oh, okay.
No, the owner just happens to own another property that is a car wash,
Okay.
though they're not going to build a car wash here. But I did receive
seem like it.
contact from someone who claimed to be associated with the property, alerted them to what needed to happen, and they said they would take care of it, but still nothing has been done to remove the fence or repair it.
Is that house part of was there a house there?
I don't know what was there possibly in the past, but that whole curve is full of duplexes,
Oh,
apartments.
okay, that's what's in the background there.
Yes, that's an adjacent property.
In the zoning?
It's all zoned downtown,
Yeah, that was my confusion, was I thought this was a commercial.
so there
Not that
is
it would
something
matter.
going to be built there, but in the meantime, we just need them to repair any sections of fence that are still on the property and keep the lot in at least a decent shape, so.
Are you requesting a violation, declaration of violation?
No, they're still in non-compliance. I'm just, for case number 22-21, I'm requesting compliance on or before May 27th of 2022, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. We're asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law. And compliance can be met for the fence maintenance by repairing the section of the fence that is damaged and falling over, or by removing the damaged section of fence.
I had a quick question. Are we going to do two motions, like one to find in compliance and then one for the violation?
Yes.
Okay.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before May 27th, 2022. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Kessman. Moving on, case 22-22, fines respondents TAH 2017 borrower LLC at 612 Yelvington Avenue in violation of code for residential rental business tax receipt. Is there anyone here to speak to this case? Yelvington? Nobody? Hi.
All right, hello again. I'll be here for a little bit. Daniel Kasman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for case number 22-22 at 612 Yelvington Avenue. There's one violation here for Code Section 3-2302 for residential rental business tax receipt. Notice of violation was sent on December 30th of 2021, and then again on January 31st of 2022, with a compliance date of January 30th of 2022, and then February 5th of 2022. The affidavit of posting was posted to the property on January 31st of 2022. 612 Yelvington just had some issues with parking after checking in our utilities and with our Acela program. I noticed that the utilities were in a different name than the actual owner on record, and they didn't have a business tax receipt for rental. This is what it looks like in our utilities, being rented by a Yasmin Para. They don't have a current business tax receipt in our Acela system here. And this is the lease agreement in our utilities between the owner, which is the TAH 2017 borrower, and the current tenant, which is Yasmin Para. Went back after the compliance date on the 31st of January, checked the utilities, still being leased, and in our system they still have no current business tax receipt for their rental. This was the postings for the business tax receipt they didn't sign for their certified mail. It was the 31st of January. And then again, after the 5th of February, they still are renting the property and they still have not applied for a business tax receipt. Same deal again on April 22nd. They still are renting the property and they still have not applied for a business tax receipt. And as of today, they still have not applied for a business tax receipt.
And you weren't able to get in touch with anyone?
TAH borrower owns many homes in Clearwater. This is not the first time I've had to bring in the code board for not getting a business tax receipt. I don't know why they find it so difficult to apply for business tax receipts, but they usually end up getting one in the end right before deadlines. So, in this case, for case number 2022 for 612 Yelvington Avenue, I'm asking for compliance on or before May 27th of 2022. Or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. We're asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law. And compliance can be met for the residential business tax receipt required by obtaining a business tax receipt for the residential rental or by ceasing to rent the property.
So you mentioned they have other properties in the area. Do they have business tax receipts for those properties?
Some of them, their properties are scattered all over Clearwater. Some of my fellow code enforcement inspectors have contacts. I've talked to them before. Sometimes they get business tax receipts, sometimes they completely ignore me and they don't apply for a business tax receipt.
Which is the case for this property?
It just happens to be with this particular one.
But you ended up with eyes on the property because of the parking situation.
It's usually what happens with business tax receipts. I know I bring a lot of these forward, but there's a lot of rental properties that change hands, and that each new owner doesn't know the ordinances of Clearwater. They don't communicate the ordinances to the new tenant. There's usually an issue with parking, there's an issue with garbage, or there's an issue with the grass not being cut. And as we check our system, we can see if they have a business tax receipt, and then you confirm with utilities that the property is being rented. And then They either have it or they don't. Most of the time they get it, and if they don't, then I have to bring it forth to code board.
I have a question.
So we're gonna do-
If you could, explain to me how you get a business tax receipt, and is there anyone that gets denied? I mean, if somebody wanted to turn the house next to me into a rental, could I object to that and it be denied?
The only issue with renting in Clearwater, there's only specific districts that you can rent under a month's time for a week, daily, or anything of that nature. All other districts, you have to rent for a month or longer. To obtain a business tax receipt for a single-family home is not difficult. You just have to put in an application. The cost is $31.50 a year. It allows us to have an owner on record, so if there's any problems with the property, we can have a contact to call them directly. So it doesn't have to be a guessing game after months and months of sending letters and no one responding. The only difficult part of being a landlord is if you have 5 units or greater, you have to obtain a license through the DBPR, which is the Department of Business and Professionals. That's for apartment buildings, duplexes with multiple units. And it's even that though, you just apply through the Department of Business and Professionals, and they can usually get your license within 10 to 30 days. So, not a terribly difficult thing to do, but we like to have the homeowners have them, so we have a record, like I said, a file of who owns the property, who we can speak to. So if there's any issues with the property.
Has anybody been denied?
The only way they might be denied is that they don't have a DBPR license for the landlord, or they didn't give correct information on the form. Our previous inspection specialist, Julie Phillips, there's a caveat on the form saying I'm only going to be renting for a month or longer, and if that turns out to not be true, the inspection specialist would go after them for running an Airbnb or renting less than 1 month's time.
And you could be denied for cutting up your single-family home into several homes
Right.
too, as well.
So, any other questions?
Any other questions for Daniel? Yeah, may I have a motion?
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do
And
need
you
a
wanted
motion
them in
on
compliance by May
May
27th?
27th, 2022, yes.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violation on or before May 27th. If the respondent does not comply by the date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If the fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Moving on, case 23-22 finds respondents On the Course LLC at 1329 Drew Street in violation of code for residential rental business tax receipt. Is there anyone here to speak on this case? Mr. Casman.
Hello again, board. Daniel Kasman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for case number 23-22 for 1329 Drew Street. There's one violation here for Code Section 3-2302 for residential rental business tax receipt. Notice of violation was sent on January 26th of 2022 with a compliance date of February 26, 2022, with certified mail receipt received on February 8th of 2022. This property, if anyone's seen it before, is on the corner of Lady Mary and Drew Street. Used to be a brick building back in the day. Used to be individually owned condos. There were a lot of issues with the property, with the exterior and just the roof and all parts of it. It was sold under a stipulation agreement to the new owner that they were to get the property into compliance, and then whatever business they wanted to do there, they had to get business tax receipts for. I have been in contact before with the owners and the contractors at the property when they were fixing it. It's in pretty good shape overall now, but now they've begun to rent the property and they have not obtained their business tax receipt yet. Now this is the utilities with Tampa Bay Asset Management, with the water utilities, and in our Acela system, they have not gotten a business tax receipt. This was on January 26th. I went back in March 7th. They're still renting the property. They're still managing the property. They did apply for a business tax receipt, and that was back in February, but since it is greater, 5 units or greater, they require the DBPR license, and it's still in a pending status on the DBPR. And whatever information they need to give them to obtain the license for the landlord license. This is on the 22nd of April. They're still renting the property. They still, in the NRSL, they still require the state license that they have not obtained yet. And this is their DBPR, still application and process. It's been over 2 months, and generally should not take that long to get a landlord license.
I can speak from personal experience dealing with a DBPR right now. It takes months.
But so would,
I'll just say that.
would they be seeking the BTR from the city of Clearwater if they're gonna get the multi-unit from the state?
Yeah, currently they have paid the fees. They're still in pending status because they still don't have the state license for the business tax receipt. We can't proceed forward until they have the state license, which they still haven't received yet from the DBPR because it's 5 units or greater for this particular rental.
I guess I'm just a little, so would we be seeking like 5 BTRs from them?
No, it's all put on one business tax receipt. 5 units, 200 units, however many units you have.
Oh, okay.
On the property.
I
Yeah.
see.
However many
Okay.
units is on the property.
So there's just different applications through DBPR depending on how many units you have.
Right. If they had less than 5, they would not need a DBPR license for a residential rental.
Got it.
So they're still in pending status. For this particular case, number 23-22 for 1329 Drew Street for residential rental business tax receipt, requesting compliance on or before May 27th of 2022 or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. We're asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to close, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law. Compliance may be met for the residential business tax receipt by obtaining a business tax receipt for the residential rental or by ceasing to rent the property.
I just wonder if 30 days is enough time, given it's contingent on the state.
Well, I feel like this has been under the microscope for a very long time now with this property. They've known what they were getting into when they bought this property.
And you said they filed 2 months ago, or it's been filed at least 2 months ago with the state,
It looks like they've,
pending.
pending on our system, at least they filed for the business tax receipt on the 16th of February. I don't know as far as their state license, but I've been in contact with them for over a year now, just after they got done fixing up the property and before they started renting it.
So
They
they
should
were
have had a
aware.
business tax receipt. So, if you're willing, if you want to give them more time, I'm okay with it. But right now, I want them to give the DBPR whatever information they need to give them.
I have a motion. Yeah.
Really quick. The owners do have the ability, sorry, Rebecca Mulder, code supervisor. They do have the ability to reach out to Daniel, say where their status is, and ask for more time. The fines don't start till he files paperwork, so until you guys see that, that fine wouldn't start. So they potentially have more flexibility. They just have to communicate with the department.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm fine with the May 27th.
Yeah.
So I make the first motion. I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violation on or before May 27th. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next case. Case 2422, finds respondent C&L Properties General Partnership at 2171 Drew Street in violation of code for exterior storage. Is there anyone here to speak to this case? Drew Street.
This one is going to be a declaration of violation. So unless the board wants to see the entire presentation, would it be all right if I move to the recommendation page?
I think so, board. Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon again, board. Daniel Kasman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for recommendation for case number 25-22 for 2071 Drew Street for exterior storage. The property is currently in compliance, and I'm requesting a declaration of violation.
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine of up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Case 2522, fines respondent Anna Torres Pabon at 1450 Franklin Street in violation of code for fences and walls. Is there anyone here to speak on this case? Hello. Can you step to the podium and state your name and address?
Gilbert Torres.
Pardon me?
My name is Gilbert Torres,
Okay. Your address, Gilbert?
6309 Newtown Circle, Tampa, Florida.
Do you admit to the violation? Is this your property?
Yes,
1450 Franklin Street is your property, and you're
Yes.
admitting to the violation?
yes.
Okay.
I've been trying to buy the fence, and they ordered, Home Depot had ordered the fence, but they didn't get it in on time. And then they didn't deliver the fence, so then I canceled the fence, and I got it from Lowe's. So I didn't know how much fence I needed. I thought it was like around a dumpster when I called the inspector, Nilda, whatever her name was. But I just spoke to the gentleman, and he told me it's like the whole property. And I had already bought the fence for the whole property. Now they're telling me I need a permit for somebody to install the fence. They say I can't install it. I'm a carpenter from New York, union carpenter. And they're telling me I can't install it. I don't know why. I need a permit.
Okay. Mr. Torres, do you want to have a seat, and then we're going to hear from the inspector, and then I'll call you back?
Yeah.
Okay. Not really. Are we taking that as a,
You could do the first
All right.
motion if you want.
we're taking that as a motion, as a not
Motion.
Let's do the first motion.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Mr. Guzman?
Hello. Hello again, Board. Daniel Casman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for case number 25-22 for 1450 Franklin Street. There's one violation here for Code Section 3-808, A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for fence maintenance, vertical position, stringers securely fastened, rotten boards, foot solidly attached to ground, fence face securely attached, and uniform fence appearance. Notice the violation was sent on January 28th, 2022, with compliance date of February 28th, 2022, and the certified mail receipt was received on February 8th, 2022. This is 1450 Franklin Street. It's a multi-unit rental property. I went by on January 21st. I noticed that the dumpster corral, the fencing around it had fallen over. It was full of holes. It's a corner of San Remo and Franklin Street in the downtown area. This is Mr. Plunkett's house next door on San Remo. But as you can see, boards are falling off the fence. It's missing boards. It's in a state of disrepair at the very end there. Some of the face has started to become attached from the rest of the fence. I went back on the 8th of March after the compliance date, and the fence on that side was still in the same condition. The dumpster corral was still in the same condition. And there's also a section of fence on this side of the property which is also starting to fall over. This would be the east side. I went back on the 21st, and that section of the fence is falling over even more. There's still holes in the fence. This is what it looks like on the other side. It needs repair, it needs replacing a facing. The dumpster corral is still in the same condition, and now the portion of fence on the east side of the property is falling over, and now there's plants taking it over. And this was just today when I went back. It looks like maybe somebody put that section of fence back up, but the rest of the fence is still in a state of disrepair, and the dumpster corral as well, and then this section of the property, the plants
So
are
it's
growing.
just kind of like an L,
The
not.
property is
we're not
shaped
okay.
like an L on its corner lot property.
Okay.
So,
Plus the corral.
yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
Do we know the approximate linear footage of all this fence?
I don't know the approximate linear footage, but when it comes to fence, your choices are repair the fence, replace the fence, or just remove the fence. Nothing. You don't have to have a fence.
Okay, noted.
Can the owner apply for a permit himself, or does he need to have a licensed somebody to apply for the permit?
I'm not exactly sure on all the rules when it comes to that. One of the building officials might be able to weigh in on that. As far as rules when pulling permits when you're the owner of a property.
Hello, I'm Kevin Garrett, building official. I kind of missed the whole question. Was it, can they get an owner builder permit?
No, my question was regarding, I guess in any permit, but really regarding a fence, can the owner of a property apply for the permit, or does it have to be a licensed contractor or?
If they're the owner
whoever?
and they live there, they can do an owner builder permit. They can
Owner
apply
builder
for the
permit,
permit
okay.
themselves and obtain it and do the work themselves. They don't
Okay.
have to have a licensed contractor. If they're renting it out, then they do need a licensed contractor.
They will still have to go through the inspection process as far as.
Yeah, that would be the same. They would get their permit, they would go through the inspection process, or sometimes we don't inspect them, but it can be inspected. And that's the same whether it's owner builder or contractor.
Are there any materials that they would need prepared by a professional, or could they do them all themselves, assuming they did them correctly?
They would probably need to have a survey to show zoning where the fence is going, show everybody where the fence is going. And, but that doesn't necessarily have to be done right now. If they had one from before, if they had some kind of a site plan showing where the fence is going, that's the primary thing, to just indicate where the fence is gonna be, show on your drawing where it's going, list what the material is, list the height, and should be good to go.
So if he replaces the fence, would he have to still show that? I mean, if the fence is existing, and we're assuming it's on the property line or inside the property line, and if he's replacing that fence, why would he have to have a drawing?
I think for the contractors would need to know the survey for the new fence.
Oh, is this a replacement?
My understanding is Mr. Torres also doesn't live at the property, which I
Yeah.
believe is where part of this issue hinges on. So I think that ultimately the fact that he does not live on the property means anything to do with this permit would have to be done by another contractor, so.
So maybe a moot point.
Or anything short of tearing it down.
Right, unless he removes the property, or the.
There is a provision, and this falls to the land development code, so I'm not the expert in that, but if the fence posts stay and the fence panels get replaced, then I don't think you even need a permit. You can just replace it, do maintenance on it, but if you have to replace the posts, then a new permit is needed.
We can check with the code and get back with the applicant on that if he's willing to work with us on this.
Any other questions? Do you want to call Mr., thank you, Kevin.
Interesting.
Do you want to call Mr. Torres? Mr. Torres, do you want to come back to the podium? What are your plans for the fence?
Okay, my plan is to replace it, put new fence.
To replace it
But you
with,
were saying that if the posts, when I remove the posts, I could do it myself, I don't need a permit, right?
so you would have to work very closely with the city, work with the inspector on the exact specifications
Right.
of that
Okay.
project.
So now I have a vinyl fence, right? The fence that's there now is wood.
Right.
The post, it's vinyl. I could put the vinyl post in, you know what I'm saying, it's like a sleeve on the existing wooden post.
Mr. Torres, I think you're
I'm
gonna
not
have
gonna,
That's above our pay grade. It's a great question, but that's above our pay grade.
So if you work closely with the inspector and this team, they can let you know the
Yeah, we'll work with you on that.
specifics.
Get with building and they'll be able to help you out and figure out what exactly you're allowed to do.
Yes,
Yes.
after this, we can help you get in contact with them about that.
but you don't live on the property,
I
correct?
will say though.
So to get any kind of replacement, you're gonna have to have permitted, your contractor's gonna have to have permitted any kind of replacement of the fence, since you're not there.
Urgent keeps getting in the way.
Tearing it down wouldn't require a permit.
The only area of the
Just
property,
leave it open, tear it down, leave it open.
you can take the fence
Until you're ready to
down,
rebuild.
except for around the dumpster. The dumpster has to be fenced.
And the dumpster's another problem, right? I have the dumpster, the fence is a little too high over the dumpster, and I get people back there, the crackheads, shooting up, syringes are back there, they sleep behind the dumpster. And I got cameras facing the dumpster, but I can't see them because the fence is higher than, way higher than the dumpster. So let's say the dumpster's like, yeah, high, the fence is like this.
Well, just make sure before that fence around the dumpster is replaced, that that is permitted before you get that new fence put in.
Around the dumpster,
Understood?
even though the posts are there.
Yeah, just work with
Yes,
building.
there's nothing currently around the dumpster that needs to be
There's
permitted.
posts there around the dumpster, the fence just fell, the post is still there.
Just make sure you contact the inspector
And
first,
the picture you see there,
and do it soon.
that side, that's open,
Yeah.
the guy next door claims that's his property.
Even more of a reason to present that survey to the contractor.
Mr. Torres, we have somebody, once this portion of the hearing's over, we have someone here that can speak to you about it, okay?
So, I have to get it done by when do I have to get it done?
I don't think they've made a decision yet.
We're
so-
gonna hear the inspector's recommendations and then make a decision. Do you think you could get it done in 30 days?
Sure.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, we'll make it, thank you. Your recommendation?
permit could take.
Yes, board, this is Daniel Kessler again, 1450 Franklin Street, case number 25-22 for fence maintenance, requesting compliance on or before May 27th of 2022, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. We're asking the board to authorize the following. After 3 months from the recommendation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law. And compliance may be made for fence maintenance by repairing the section of the fence that is damaged and falling over, or by removing the damaged section of fence. Just quite simple.
Are we gonna leave this at 150?
How long does it take to get a permit if you filed today?
No telling, he would need the survey.
I wouldn't really know. And again, in this case, if you're replacing just the face of the fence, you don't need a permit. If you're doing anything to poles, you need a permit. And that's best answered by speaking to the building division. As far as the sleeves over the posts, I don't know if that is for or against or is considered changing the posts. You'd have to just speak with the building division about it. Or again, the other remedy is just completely removing the fence and you don't have to have a fence on the property.
I have one more question, I'm sorry. Is this a is this 4 units or 5?
I believe it's even more.
Sorry.
It could be even up to 6 units. It's a bit of a strange construction. It's set back a bit on the property in the shape of an L.
Okay.
And it was just, there were some other issues with grass parking at the property, and then as I took a closer look, we had a few other issues. They do have a current business tax receipt that was taken care of. Now it's just the fence issue and some exterior surface issues that hopefully will be taken care of before we have to take it to code board.
I think there's one more person that wants to speak on this case.
Hi, good afternoon. Lauren Matsky, Assistant Director, Planning and Development. I was out in the hall for just a moment, so I missed some of the questions. But I will talk with Mr. Torres regarding the process and everything like that. If I'm understanding everything correctly, there's kind of 2 issues. There's the fence and everything related to that, and then separately but related is the dumpster enclosure. I heard your question regarding about how many days. 30 is reasonable, but it could take a little longer. It depends on if he has the survey, when he can get in, because I'm going to encourage him to come in and talk with staff to make sure that everyone's clear on all the parts, getting the supplies. I don't know how long things take these days for fences to be delivered and getting crews and everything scheduled. So since it would require something like that, an outside contractor. I know there were questions, and I will talk through it with him regarding how it works, the difference between maintaining an existing fence that might be non-conforming to our code versus a whole new replacement of the fence. Because I didn't, just through pictures I can't tell, but it's possible that some of his existing fence that is falling down might be non-conforming and may not be able to be replaced in the exact position. So.
True.
So are you the lady that shakes the fence to determine if the post?
No. I think you need more qualifications for that than I would be able to provide. The main point is, if it's structurally not sound, then it would require a new post. It's really just, if occasionally a board, like especially with wooden fences, obviously, occasionally a board or something might need to be replaced, and that's just, one or two at a time. There was an avenue to allow people to maintain it, but sometimes if you don't maintain throughout the duration of something, it just becomes structurally unsound.
Board, any other questions?
I have a question for the inspector.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
So the initial notice went out in January, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Has he been cooperative throughout the entire process, or is this your first time hearing where he is in the process today when he showed receipts and et cetera?
This is the first time we've spoken in a long time. There was an issue with grass parking at the property a few months previous. I wasn't contacted after that point. I was kind of, I don't know what happened, and there were then few other issues. It was an issue with grass parking and the fact that they had a business tax receipt for the rental in a red status, which meant it hadn't been paid in 2 years. So then we got both of those issues fixed, and then the fence issue came up, and then now the exterior surface issue, which will be a different violation going forward.
Regarding the fence situation, has he been in communication with you?
This is the first time we've spoken about this in person. So, I'm okay with giving another month if we think that would be better for allowing the permitting and the materials and final conclusion of whether it's going to be replacement, removal, or repair, and whatever all that might entail. Like what Lauren said, if there's non-conforming use now with this fence.
You asked him if 30 days was enough time, and he said yes, so he was agreeable.
I mean, this has been going on since the beginning
Yeah.
of the year almost.
So I'll provide a motion.
Any other questions?
No, thanks.
Okay. May I have a motion?
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violation on or before May 27th. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation. For each day, each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next case, case 26-22. Fines respondent Sandra Sucardi at 214 South Comet Ave in violation of code for hauling trailer and residential rental business tax receipt. Is there anyone here to speak on this case? Comet Avenue, please come forward. Hi, can you step to the podium, state your name and address for the board?
Yes, Sandra Sucardi, 2036 Plateau Road, Clearwater, Florida, 33755.
I'm sorry, I need your last name again.
Sucardi,
Could you spell that?
Sukardi.
And your address is 2036?
This is my, where I'm living. But it's 214 South Comet, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
You live at this address, South Comet?
No, I
no, you
don't.
don't, okay.
No, no.
Okay, can we have your residential address? Where you live?
2036 Plateau Road.
Plateau? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Sucardi, do you admit to the violation?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Well, I was going to build, and we put the trailer over there. When based on ignorance, I didn't know that I have to have a permit in order for me to have that trailer over there. That's number one. Number two is when I know he sent me a note when I tried to remove the trailer. My problem was that the knob of the trailer, they tried 3 times to remove the trailer and we couldn't remove it. The person who was helping me, he has a company and everything, but he told me that, they were going to fix it. Finally, they fixed it. They removed the trailer. Now, and now we don't have any trailer in the house.
This is the tenant's trailer. Or you're a trailer?
That is the person who was going to build. That is not the tenant. There is no tenant in it.
Oh, there's nobody there?
No, there is a family living over there, but those are family members.
Okay.
There is no, I mean, if he might say that the electricity and the water is under another name, but I just can't have it under my name because I have so many bills also. And then I told them if they want to live over there, I'm not going to be responsible for nobody, water and electricity.
Okay. But the trailer is gone?
The trailer is gone. Yeah, it's already removed.
And you have intention to get the BTR for the property?
If I rent it, yes, in the future.
She's saying she doesn't rent it.
She's saying family lives there.
Yeah, that's a whole different
The
question.
people who currently own the property, do they pay you rent?
They don't pay me rent. They live over there, but they don't pay me rent.
And do they pay utilities and
They do.
bills at the property?
I pay the taxes, I pay the insurance, I have a proof of that. I mean, I don't have it with me right now, but I do have proof that I do pay.
They pay electricity and water at the property?
Yes, they do.
They're tenants.
When did you say you removed the trailer?
Like a week, like 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Okay. That was after the compliance date?
So we still need to have a first motion tonight.
I think
Yeah.
there's a declaration on the trailer. So they're seeking, the city's gonna seek a declaration on the trailer.
And the BTR. We're getting rid of the BTR. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion on the declaration?
I
Or,
move-
sorry, a motion on the violation?
So she's admitting the violation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
All in favor? Aye. And Ms. Sadarki, you can have a seat. We're going to hear from the inspector, and then we may call you back up. Hello, Mr. Kasman.
Hello again, Board. Daniel Kasman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is case number 26-22 for 214 South Comet Avenue. There were two violations here for Code Section 3-2302 for residential rental business tax receipt, Code Section 3-1407 A2, A2C, A3C for vehicle between the principal structure and right-of-way, hauling trailer in area between the principal structure and right-of-way, and hauling trailer inside or rear setback not screened by a fence, wall, or hedge. When we get to the recommendations page, I'll talk more about that one. For the past few weeks, I've gone by and I've not seen the trailer. It's probably going to be taken as a declaration of violation, but let's just go through all the photos.
They already voted on that.
Okay, very well. Notice violation for both violations were sent on February 3rd of 2022 with a compliance date of March 3rd, 2022, and a certified mail receipt was received on February 15th of 2022, and then a notice of hearing was posted at the property on April 15th of 2022. This was 214 South Comet Avenue. I drove by, noticed a hauling trailer at the property on the 2nd of February, sent notice to the owner. After I checked with Acela on our utilities, noticed the names in the utilities did not match up with what the record on owner was, and the owner lived elsewhere. This is in Acela. There is no business tax receipt applied for. And in the utilities, I saw the name in there, Veronica Villa, is a lot different than the owner of the property. And there was just talking between the water department and them just as proof that somebody else was living there. I went back on the 8th of March, and the hauling trailer was still there at the property after the compliance date. I went back, there was still no business tax receipt applied for, and the property was still being rented out, to the Veronica Villa. This was on the 15th of April. The notice was affixed to the front door of the property for today's hearing. And I've been by several times, and yes, the hauling trailer has not made a reappearance at the property. This was the 21st of April. They still had the utilities in another name, still hadn't applied for a business tax receipt, and then this was today. The hauling trailer's still not there, but the business tax receipt still hasn't been applied for, and they're still renting out the property. So, any questions?
I have a question. The owner. So I think
Are we in violation?
And with the business tax receipt, are we in violation, given that it's not
She
technically?
says that she's not receiving money for the property.
You have to weigh
Yeah, what are
that.
the rules?
So what are your what are your
If, if you want me to change the name of the electricity and the water, I can do it. I don't mind.
I think it would be easier and safer to apply for the business tax receipts, $31 for the year from the city. Put it so that they know that you're the owner and that there's people that are not you living in the property.
It's up to you guys.
Beyond
Daniel.
what we should advise.
Board, if you don't mind me saying, if I've given my card to the owner, if they would like to follow up with the business tax receipt specialists, because in this case, there are certain caveats to the rule when it comes to renting to family members or certain individuals, especially if you're not having income or not being taken in. I'm going to be asking for a month's time to figure out the business tax receipt portion of this. If you could please call, I can give you the number of the business tax receipt line, and you can speak with them, and they'll be able to guide you through the process, because there are a few rules when it comes to, like I said, renting the family members, especially if you're not taking any income from them.
And then, Mr. Kasman, if for some reason we found out that she wasn't required to get one, then in that case, we could dismiss the case. If
Yes, but we'd want you to
She
speak.
would, she would come in compliance because, right, in
Right.
essence, there's no violation.
Yeah.
Right.
And something else, I do have, how to say, a different last name, but it's because of marriage. You know, that is the different, you know, that's why.
Can I see that card I gave you? Okay.
So she has a month for it to get the BTR squared away, and then we still need a declaration for the trailer.
But I think he's
Call this number.
withdrawing the
Business
trailer.
tax receipt specialist.
She's
Okay,
in
and then I'll
compliance.
talk to them about my recommendation.
Mr. Kasman, we were doing a declaration violation for the trailer, right?
We already did that.
But
Everyone, let
just-
Mr. Sidarki
I
speak.
have a question. Do I have to put this property, the electricity and the water, under my name?
No, right now, we're just going to vote on the BTR issue, and then you'll
Okay.
contact Mr. Kasman. He'll
Okay.
walk you through that step.
Okay, thank
You
you.
may not even need one. We don't know.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get that cleared up.
Did you do
All right.
declaration? I thought you just did the first one for violation.
Board, this is,
Yeah, what do,
any further questions?
anyone?
or-
Okay.
So board, for this case, 214 South Common Avenue, there were two violations. The hauling trailer was a declaration of violation. Currently, the residential rental business tax receipt, I'm requesting compliance on or before May 27th of 2022, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. Asking the board to authorize the following: after 3 months date from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law. And compliance may be met for the residential rental business tax receipt by obtaining a business tax receipt for the residential rental or by ceasing to rent the property. And currently, the hauling trailer violation is in compliance. As far as in this case, as long as the owner stays in contact with me, speaks to the business tax receipt specialists, and we discover if they need a business tax receipt or not, we're okay with complying out the case. If that's happens to be what it is, if she ends up needing a business tax receipt, we'll just need her to get the business tax receipt before May 27th or on May 27th.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Mr. Kasman, based on your analysis, you think she does need one, based on the evidence that you have and what you've looked at?
I don't know enough about to make a definitive statement on that right now.
Based on the new information from the homeowner, since she hasn't made contact previously with us, we may ask for a continuance on this to be able to actually speak to her, make contact, and that we weren't able to make prior to her showing up for this committee. That way we're not finding her in violation of something that she may not be in violation of. So if that's preferable, then we can just continue it, then we don't have to make a motion.
You could just take a motion to table and we will bring it
If
back to you at the
necessary.
next meeting, or if it's resolved, then it won't be brought
I
back.
think that's a great idea.
I'll
Okay.
make the motion that we continue this case 26-22 to our next month's meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
We technically didn't do a declaration.
It's okay. We just tabled everything and rolled it to a continuance.
Hey.
Nicole, are we all right to move forward? Are we all right to move forward?
Yes. Yeah, we're
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Case 27-22 finds respondents Brandon and Susan Leskey at 306 South Meteor Avenue in violation of code for hauling trailer and residential rental business tax receipt. Is there anyone here to speak to this case, Meteor Avenue? Mr. Kasman.
Board, this will be a declaration of violation for both violations. The owner of the property obtained their business tax receipt for residential rental a few days before the hearing, and they've also removed the hauling trailers from the property, so if it's all right with you, I'd like to just go straight to the recommendations page, and if that's all right.
Yes. Be great.
Okay. Daniel Kasman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for case number 27-22 for 306 South Meteor Avenue. Violations were for residential rental business tax receipt and hauling trailer. The property is currently in compliance for both violations, and I'm requesting a declaration for both violations.
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit. In this case, the violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine of up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist. I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Case 2822 has been withdrawn. Case 2922 has been withdrawn. Case 3122 is continued. And case 32-22 finds respondent Coachman Creek Condo Association at 2625 State Road 590, Building 5, in violation of code for unsafe building. Is there anyone here to speak to this case? Hi, your name and address.
Good afternoon. Attorney Adam Gurley on behalf of Coachman Creek Condominium Association. My firm address is 28059 US Highway 19 North, Suite 301.
Is that the property we're talking about?
No, that is not the property in question. That's my law firm address. The property in question is 2625 State Road 590.
Are they admitting the violation?
We are admitting the violation. Board, we're here to request, the association's taken significant steps both to address the condition of the building in the short term by putting up metal shoring to address the front walkways. They're working with an engineer and a contractor to, again, continue with the shoring in the front walkways of the building and to address the back balconies as a temporary measure, again, with metal shoring to address any issues in the short term. The association has also taken diligent steps to address the bigger picture, to come up with the long-term fix, that is to address the walkways and the back patios, working with a different engineer and a different contractor, Suncoast Restoration, to perform that broader scope of repairs. That project for the broader scope is, the bids came in between $500,000 and $800,000. So it's a significant project that this condominium is attempting to undertake. At this point, we are in the contract phase of finalizing the contract with that contractor. The association, to fund the project, is also looking to secure financing from a bank, from a lender. So we're waiting on both of those to come in so that they can fund the project. They did report this to their property insurance carrier. It's actually the property insurance carrier who notified the city of the violation. Perhaps not surprisingly, the insurance carrier then denied coverage across the board. So there's no funding from the insurance company. That legal fight's going on behind the scenes. But the association's not waiting for that fight to be resolved to address these issues. They're moving forward again, both short-term and long-term. We've been in regular communication with Mr. Cantrell, who's been very informative, very professional, very responsive in helping us try to navigate this whole thing. So we're admitting the violations, but we are requesting that the board permit us additional time to obtain the permits for the long-term fix, because again, we can't get the permits until the contract documents are finalized and until the lender bank loan is finalized. We do have a permit application that's been submitted as of yesterday, because we plan to begin the temporary shoring of the back balconies here shortly.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Burley. Have a seat, staff.
Thank you.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Mr. Cantrell?
Good afternoon, Jason Cantrell, Building Inspector, City of Clearwater. Again, this property is 2625 State Road 590. And this is located on State Road 590, also Coachman Road on the other side of 19. It's just on the east side of 19, south of 590 there. This is an overview of the front of the building. The shoring is in place here. So this isn't the original inspection photo, but you can see those, the second and third floor balconies are what is in question on the front side here. This is just their initial preventative measure to keep residents from going in those areas. And then this is around the back of the building. You can see some bracing in place there on the first and second floors. And just moving down the line, showing the same. Now, I was not able to get into those balcony areas to get better photos, so once the engineer that the association hired went in and sent us their report, here's some of the photos from what they found. You can see the joists on the balconies and the subfloor there are pretty much non-existent. The concrete's cracking there, the walkway. This is showing the improper attachment of the joist to the ledger with some excessive notching there. More of the same. You can see some pretty bad repairs, which shows why that permitting is so important and proper inspections. I'm surprised nobody got hurt on these. This one's showing more of the same, and is also showing the excessive boring where the electric was run through the joists there. Just some more of those joists. This one's actually on the back balcony. It's the only picture from the back that I put in here. I do have a report showing more if you'd like, but it's pretty consistent, and they know that. That's all I have for photos. Any questions?
Do the people have access to their apartments?
They do.
So they're occupied?
They're occupied.
Balconies are occupied.
Correct. They're going to have to do the repairs in the front, they're going to have to come up with temporary stair solution, which they do have their contractor working on that now. That permit has not been applied for as of yet. They're still working on the shoring portion of it, making sure they're permitting, which they just submitted for that, making sure that gets done.
When did all this come into the city's attention?
In mid-2020.
And that was by the insurance company that notified the city?
I thought it was an engineer that called it in. I'm really not sure who they were with.
I can speak to that if the board would like. Adam Gurley, again, on behalf of Coachman Creek. It was Grinley Williams Engineering who was retained by the insurance company and called out to inspect as part of that inspection.
Thank you.
Your recommendations?
Okay, for compliance to be met for the unsafe structure, apply for, obtain, and complete the required permitting for the repairs, and obviously the repairs as well. Our recommendation for this, we're asking for 2 board orders. First, to obtain a proper permit on or before May 27th, 2022. Provided they meet that condition, then we would like another order to complete that permit by July 27th, 2022, or a fine of $150 per day for the one violation that continues to exist, and any reasonable cost to be applied as liens against the property. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, City Attorney's Office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law.
You said they just applied for the structural permits.
Correct, for the temporary shoring, the bracing. That's the permit they just submitted for. The bracing's in place for the most part. Their engineer is going to provide us with a report after he goes through the engineering or the shoring and make sure whether or not it's safe for people to be in there past this point. I'm not sure.
And so we know that they've gotten quotes to the tune of $500,000, $800,000.
Mhm.
I mean, is completion of work by July 27th even remotely
Sound practical to me.
possible?
Unfortunately, it's really not, and that's kind of between the bank loan and then finalizing the contract documents and then getting the contractor out there to get started in the current climate, coordinating with engineers and contractors and materials. I'd love to see it get done by then. The board would love to see it get done by then, or better yet, a year ago, but it's just not feasible under the circumstances. And we know this has been submitted since 2020. If the board would like, I'm happy to expand on kind of what the process has been to this point. But since it was reported, the shoring went up immediately on the front walkways. And then the association hired Karen's Engineering to do the broader scope of work to determine exactly what needs to be done to the front and back as the long-term fix. Then condo law requires that they bid the project out, competitive bids. And then we had to get separate engineers involved for engineer drawings on the temporary stairs, so we don't have to kick out all the residents while the work's going on. So it's
That's
been,
my biggest concern.
it's been quite a process.
So timeline-wise, what do you think would be realistic?
My hope is that we will have something from the engineer, being SEI, within the next, I hope, week or two that says, okay, the short-term shoring is what I want it to be, and I can now officially sign off on, the immediate, imminent issues. The bigger scope project, the long-term project, I'd be throwing darts at the wall if I gave you a date. Quite frankly, right now, what I'd ask of the board is if you'll invite me back at the next meeting, I'd hope to have an update at that point to say, okay, here's where we are with the lender. They've approved the loan and committed to funding by X date or something to that effect. So the board is at least aware that funding is now in place and it's just a matter of the contractor's availability.
So could we then continue it to next month?
Yes, you've already made a determination as to violations, and now all you're determining is the time period. You could continue it to the next meeting and allow for that to occur.
Is the city gonna let, for instance, if someone moves out of these apartments, is the city gonna let this place continue to be rented in this state? Or as they become empty, can they stay empty? Can the city require them to stay empty? Because it just doesn't seem safe to me to keep moving people into them.
Hello, Board. I'm Dana Root. I'm the Assistant Building Official for the City of Clearwater. Jason, these are condos, right?
Correct, sir.
Okay, so these are condos. We have notified.
Hard to sell at this point.
We have notified the property owners through the association that there is an unsafe issue with the building. They choose to occupy the building.
So, Mr. Root, I can't imagine this being completed construction-wise in 3 months, 4 months. I mean, they need to get financing, then they have to go through an assessment with their membership to approve their assessment and that sort of thing. So the money's not even there yet. It says complete the permit by July 27th. Does that mean completing the paperwork for the permit, or is that
completing the work?
The work. This will be.
No way.
It'll be amazing if it's done by Thanksgiving, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. We can vote on a continue. We can vote on the timeline.
Or the final, is that the temporary work by the 27th, or is that the final?
No, that's the final. Completing the work.
And I think it's important that the city make sure that they almost go out there and inspect this condition on a weekly, if not a daily basis, but somebody needs to make sure that the condition doesn't worsen before it gets fixed.
He just needs
Right.
to meet with the bank.
One of the reasons why we are here is because this case is from 2020.
Why is it not a repeat violation or a declaration from 2020, I guess is my question. This has been lingering so long.
Well, the attorney offered to explain what happened since 2020 to now, so why? Why is this just now coming before us?
Because they're not completing and anything.
And I'm happy to speak to that. So when the initial violation was reported, it was just the front walkways. It wasn't anything to do with the back patios. So the association shortly thereafter hired a company to come out and do that temporary shoring. So at the moment, everyone was satisfied that at least the short term, the need to protect safety and wellness had been addressed. Now let's go through the contract process and do the long-term fix, because we have that shoring in place. Within the last couple of weeks, maybe months, but weeks really, when SEI Engineering became involved, they came out and looked at the shoring and continued to check the shoring. They came out a couple of weeks ago and said, we need to pull some of the soffit off, and that might be some of the pictures that we're seeing to say, do we need additional shoring here and there? And that's why that scope has increased and that the contractor's been out there over the last couple of weeks. Then the scope changed to add the back patios over time as well. So that's why SEI, just as of last week, prepared their scope of work for the back patios. So it's both a mix of everything I described in terms of the formalities that they had to go through for the long-term fix, to get the engineers, to get the scope of work, to do the bidding, to get Suncoast. Now they have bank applications. But then the short term, the assumption was that was all in place, in the front walkways up and until fairly recently when SCI took a look and said, there's more shoring I want you to do in this corner and that corner. So that's really why. But we've had 2 engineering firms involved in this. We've had 3 contractors now, both to do the shoring and Suncoast Restoration to do the broader project. So they're moving this forward as quickly as they can, and I know that may seem disingenuous because it's been since 2020, but that, is really the timeline of what they've done, and it's taken to this point.
The condo rules, they can't start this work until they vote, correct? Doesn't the association have to vote to take out this loan to start this work?
In this case, the board might be able to. I'm not sure if this requires membership approval for that loan. The contract to bring the contractor on just requires board approval, but I'd have to check their specific documents on whether it's membership approval or board approval. Also, where we have a safety issue and it's maintenance as opposed to a material alteration, there's additional provisions both in the law and their governing documents that say, this isn't a...
I'm just trying to clarify, they're not holding this up. This is something that they understand has to move forward. It's just a matter of...
The membership, the board, the contractors, the engineers are all very aware that this cannot linger and is trying to push this forward as best we can.
There's a suggestion by the city.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I was speaking with my client a few minutes ago, and we would be amenable to continuing this to the next meeting. What we really need is that engineering report letter as quickly as possible. I think we'd like that within the next week.
Okay.
And if you could do that, we would certainly be amenable to giving you more time and extending this continuance to the next meeting. But I think if we didn't receive that letter the next week, when we got to our next meeting date, we would not be so gratuitous in giving more time.
Understood.
So.
Thank you, sir.
We would ask the board to continue it to your next meeting. As I said, you've already made the determination of the violation. So we will update the board, the city will update the board at that time, and the applicant can tell you what's going on.
And that would be the report, I'm sorry, just to be clear, the report from SCI, the engineer, that says the temporary work is sufficient to protect safety, wellness, it's
I'll let Mr. Cantrell speak to that exactly what it is.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir. Okay, just wanted to be clear, thank you.
Yeah, because those tenant safety is probably our top priority.
Absolutely.
Above, achieving compliance.
Absolutely.
Are we comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
It'll be here.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we continue case 32-22 with the understanding that their engineer, SEI Engineering, will submit a letter to the city confirming the protection for the balconies, that it's safe.
Due to May 2020. I think there's a continuance. Isn't there a continuance?
Is that?
We're just so it's clear to the board, we're continuing the compliance part. You've already made a determination as to the violation.
Correct. Second?
Second that.
All in favor? Okay, we'll see you next month.
Thank
Mr.
you all very
Berlin.
much. Enjoy the rest of your
Thank
day. I appreciate it.
Thank you, board.
you. Thank you. Mr. Cantrell. Okay, I'm gonna close this portion, on to unfinished business. I can find my notes.
You can have one motion on the
Yes.
affidavits of compliance.
So affidavits of compliance, 511 through 5118. Can I have one motion to accept the affidavits of compliance?
I'll make a motion that we accept the affidavit of compliance
I
for
second.
issues 5.11 through 5.118.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those pass. Fantastic. Is there anyone here to speak to the affidavits of non-compliance? Anyone, please? Please state your name and address for the...
Sean Irwin, 1016 South Duncan Avenue, Clearwater, Florida, 33756. I'm here for the 1725 Flagler Drive.
Am I not seeing it?
5.7.
Oh, pardon me, okay. Sorry.
I'm sorry, your name again?
Sean Irwin.
I, Urban? Thank you.
Originally, this property was owned by my mother. She passed away November 14th, 2021. I became her personal representative on January 24, 2022, and I've been working trying to get this repaired since then. I've gotten a contractor, the financing, the plans done, we've submitted the plans, we've done a notice of commencement as well, and then my contractor said he's just waiting, the city's revising the paperwork so that he can start the work. I'm just asking for a 4-month extension, because that's how long my contractor thinks it's going to take, because trusses have to be ordered.
Single family home?
It's a duplex.
Duplex. Anyone living there?
No.
Madam Chair, may I have a moment to speak with my client about this?
Yes, please.
We can, Chair, you can go forward with the other affidavits of non-compliance.
Okay. There's no one else here to speak to the other affidavits of non-compliance. Okay. Can I have a motion on the other affidavits of non-compliance, case 14421, 15521, 15821? That's it. Accept.
I move to accept the affidavits of non-compliance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Those pass. Mr. Meach?
So going back to item 5.7, case 169-21, the city is not amenable to giving more time on this case. There's been a lot of residents' complaints, and of course, we've already found them in violation that we've given them the necessary time to correct. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of our position.
Board, any questions? Yuraski's here.
Mr. Irwin, come forward, please. Did you bring any paperwork with you to show that you've got everything? Like the declaration of commitment and everything?
No, you're fine, you're fine.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't remember it either. And I happen to know family, so I don't even want to comment.
Affidavit of non-compliance means they're just gonna take it to the legal phase. Because we've passed or beyond.
We've already made a decision. I don't remember this one.
I just think it's not our. How long has it been considered unsafe?
I was first aware of it in December is when they let me know.
Were there people living in the duplex?
There was a fire. So people have moved out since then because of the fire. The roof was all damaged.
Okay, so the roof is damaged, is that what, okay, so that's why the neighbors can see that it's unsafe?
That and some broken windows from the fire department.
Okay.
I'm not familiar. It could just be the roof.
When was the fire?
It was last year, I'm not sure the exact date.
Madam Chair, can we request to hear from the inspector on this case to refresh us?
Yes. Mr. Irwin, we're going to ask that Mr. Cantrell, can you jar our memory on this?
Hi. I do have the PowerPoint from when I brought this. So the notice of violation was sent on May 25th, 2021, so the fire happened shortly before that. And then here's some of the photos.
Oh, I remember this, but it's a duplex, but it's single story.
Correct. We have received a lot of complaints, both online and call-ins, from neighbors. I did, about 2.5 weeks ago, I did catch somebody there. I thought it might have been Sean, but he said he wasn't the owner. He was back in the shed in the backyard. I have no idea what he was doing there.
This was the one that had the squatters living in the
I'm not sure
Whoever
about
was here
that.
to speak before had said that there were people living.
I remember this one.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for him? All right. Well,
Up to the discretion.
if you have any questions, or we need to make a motion here. Do you want to? He's asking for 4 months.
I would respect the
The city is saying, the city is asking for more time.
If I can interject for a second, if it's up to you if you're going to give more time or not. However, if you do, I would strongly suggest that this property gets secured better than it is. You can see the front window's broken. Kids can get in there. They can get in the backyard. I mean, it's kind of a mess.
What would that look like? Just like fencing or to secure it? Like
We don't want to add more time to this.
Right.
To this guy's problems.
I don't know. That's up to you. I would say at the very least they would have to put plywood over that window, which plywood is a violation of code, so that has to, you have to bear that in mind.
What kind of motion do you want for us not giving them any more time?
Well, it's an affidavit of non-compliance, so we just accept it, and they're gonna move, we've already moved through the declaration phase, so. It's this one. It's gonna go into a lien.
So we need a motion?
If you guys are ready.
Yeah, I move to accept the affidavit of non-compliance and issue an order that imposes fines and states, if fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose and collect or settle such lien.
I'm sorry, real quick, was that the unsafe building motion? Or I'm sorry, the affidavit of non-compliance accepting it?
Correct.
Motion? Okay, thank you.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Cantrell.
Thank you.
All right, the last thing we have is the nuisance abatement case 3022. What do I do with it? Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondent Julia Hopwood at 2706 Woodmere Court for lot clearing. Hello.
Good afternoon, Board. Shelby Brown, Code Compliance Inspector, City of Clearwater. This is a nuisance abatement case. I would like to make a brief presentation, if it's all right with you.
Yeah.
We're good?
At this point.
All right, so this is for 2706 Woodmere Court. It is case 30-22, nuisance abatement. There's one violation of this property. It's for lot clearing for an accumulation of debris, but we cited 3 code sections, which are section 3-1502 G2, that prohibits exterior storage and items that are not for use outdoors. Code section 3-1503 B5A, which prohibits the accumulation and placement of certain nuisances. and Code Section 3-1502B7, which is a lot clearing violation. It's kind of a catch-all for overgrowth, debris, accumulation of debris, that kind of thing. So we posted the property with a notice of violation twice, on March 3rd of 2022 and April 5th of 2022. I mailed the notice on March 7th of 2022 with a compliance date of March 17th, 2022. And we made an affidavit of posting at the property as well because the mail was returned, which I reposted at her property on April 6, 2022. So I'm just going to show you some quick pictures. Basically, we've had a large-scale debris hoard situation at this property for a long time. We've issued 7 tickets already on this property over the years, and it kind of comes in and out of compliance. But this is what the entire exterior looks like all the time.
I thought we voted to have this cleared a few months ago.
No, this is the first time that we've had this before the board.
Okay.
I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, the judge has seen it several times, but this is the first time we've had it here because we want to try to get it cleaned up and get an order in place if it happens again. So what you're looking at is just a large-scale debris storage outside of the property. That's on March 3rd. This is a picture of my posting at the property on that day. April 13th, still all kinds of trash items. Everything you can think of is out in the driveway, on the sides of the property. The fence is there's not even a fence there anymore. There's just a lot of items being put there. There's items in the backyard too, probably, that need to be cleared. And if it doesn't get taken care of, we're going to go as far as we can go there. But everything that's outside it's a mess, and it just never really kind of seems to get cleaned up all the way. And this was on April 22nd. You can see there's just bags and bags of trash, discarded items, boxes, equipment, bins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a close-up of that. So we're requesting to get an order to abate that nuisance if they don't get it cleaned up.
I have it confused with another one that looked similar.
Have you spoke to the owners? Like what?
Yes.
What
Yeah,
is
this one's been going on for a long time.
I actually did receive a phone call from the owner today because, we always try to reach out, and I had left a few notices there. If she didn't have luck, she wouldn't have any luck. I think she just has a lot of bad luck, but I've expressed to her that, you can get it sorted out in the next week or so. Otherwise, we're going to come and get it sorted out, and we'd really want her to take care of it herself.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion? Nuisance abatement lien. Anyone?
Going once?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the punishment to correct the violations in 5 days if the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance, and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. Costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed. The city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, and I appreciate that. In the event that the property owner does decide to take care of this, compliance can be met by clearing the entire property, which includes the driveway, the entryway, the front, side, and rear yards of all of the accumulated debris, discarded materials, interior furnishings, racks, building materials, trash boxes, bins, plywood, cinder blocks, etc., and keep it clear thereafter. So that's that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other comments? That's it. I now close this portion of the hearing.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
It does say I need a
You said that in the middle.
I second.
That's pretty funny.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Thank you.
No one ever listens.
So is Julie Phillips not with the city anymore?
I know, what happened? Is Julie gone?
Uh-oh.
Sorry?
The
Is Julie
Julie
gone?
Phillips?
Yeah, Julie